Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Would you like me to show the first one? That Aarti?
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now we are going straight off into the Raas Leela. Many of us have not been prepared for it also. But having taken the topic, I'll start it. Now, we just saw a picture in which you saw as the Aarti was being lifted, the face of Krishna that was looking just neutral, smiled when the light went to the face. Now, this, of course, is an architectural or a sculptural accomplishment, but the reason I showed you that is to let you know that there are times when you do not see the divine with ordinary eyes. We see the divine only through transcendental eyes. And that is why I'm going to show you, people talk about the feet of Krishna and how everybody wants the feet of Krishna. I'll put that second one. Second one, Shivani. Shivani, the second one. So these are the sacred feet of Krishna. And what does it really mean? Who is Krishna? What is this Krishna that we worship? Is it just an image that we are seeing? Something of a picture in a puja room or an artistic picture, like we look at ordinary mortals. But to find out, we have to go very, very deep into our own inner selves. So here I am giving you another picture, and just have a look at that picture. This third one, the cosmic flux. Shivani, the third one, the cosmic flux. Shivani, the third picture, cosmic flux. Okay. So you see this picture, and let me read out a little of what is written there. There are rays that are, most of them being nuclei, they are cosmic rays. Some are helium, The rest are heavier elements. These, what you see like straight lines coming down and breaking up here, are the abundant, the changes, relative abundance changes with cosmic ray energy. The highest energy cosmic rays tend to be heavier nuclei. Although many of the low energy cosmic rays come from our sun, the origins of the highest energy cosmic rays remains unknown. Please listen to this. Although many of the low energy cosmic rays come from our sun, the origins of the highest energy cosmic rays remains unknown and a topic of much research. This drawing illustrates air showers from the very high energy cosmic rays. Now you can see this is an image from NASA. Keep that in your mind. And let us see whether there is any reference to this anywhere else. I have another reference here in the light of this. I'm reading this for you too. The cosmic immanence, Ayu, visible before our own eyes, impels the cosmic flux to descend into creation. The strength and volume of the stream of cosmic flux impelled towards creation magnifies with the frequency and urgency of the repeating magnifications. As the flow starts, the velocity increases with the travel of the flux, which is established by the movement of adoration. This becomes stronger and stronger, magnifying with prayers and supplications, with an increasing purpose in the orientation. O immortal one, O ever young Krishna, unto thy unseen glory we approach, and unto that we offer homage as it increases in visible glory. Now, the NASA picture that you see and the reference I read just now is from the Rig Veda. This increasing flux in cosmic waves is called Govardhanagiri. So keeping that in mind, we are not just going into a story, we are going into a very deep science about which the Rig Veda has spoken about thousands of years ago, and which NASA is trying to understand from the outside. Now, there are a few things we have to understand about life and the quality of what we call is Krishna, the quality of what we call is what are the gopis, who are the gopis. So I just want you to pay attention very deeply to this in the beginning, because this is the foundation. Now, only the receptive observer can perceive the concealed essence behind forms. Although it is immutable, words change their forms. A story that I can tell you is that a curious temple priest asked a child who was whispering to himself inaudibly. So every day he used to see this child, and then one day he went to the child and he said, "Every day I see you offering prayers to the Lord. What are you asking for?" And the child said, "I don't ask for anything. I'm just wondering how the Lord transformed the eternal sound into syllables, words, sentences, and through that, helping the creation of a vast storehouse of knowledge and wisdom." The priest, who took pride in his sermons, felt silent because he was not yet aware of the silence essence behind the forms used for communication. We are all like that priest. We have words, we have syllables, we have information, but we don't know the essence unless we go inwards. So generally, we think that there a change in the form. Form means what? I have this form, you have another form. This cupboard has a form. Everything has a form in the world of creation. Now, it's generally imagined that if you have a change in form, there is a change in the essence also. So the attention is to change the form instead of reinforcing the essence. So what we think is, if we keep changing our form, the meaning, the essence will also become different. People try to change the meaning of words. And we assume that by doing so, the essence will reflect in the actions and people's perception also will change. So society kept changing the meaning of words like Satyam, which means existence, that which existed before, that which is existing now, and that which will always exist, that which is eternal, that word has been changed to truth. Now, dharma, which means the eternal principles on which creation is founded. Many people have changed it to performance of duty. So when you change things like that, we think the essence changes. The essence never changes. The essence is always the same and eternal. Let me give you an example nearer home. When we are talking of people who are mentally disturbed, yesterday there was even a high court warning that you should call people who have a retardation, a lower level of intelligence, as mentally challenged. And often we think that when we change the name to something that looks more presentable and more acceptable in certain sections of society, the essence of it changes and we treat the person so named in a very different and more respectable way. Now, there are two things here. One is the objective reality where we are communicating to each other. And the next is the subjective reality where our communication goes into somebody else's mind or heart. When it is mind, it's more and more of information and thoughts. When it is the heart, it touches the essence. So keeping this in mind, let us go a little deeper. There is a word called Shraddha. And people sometimes think Shraddha means attention, Shraddha means dedication, but Shraddha is actually being receptive to the vibration, the resonance of the pranava, Omkar. It is not having faith in a belief or a creed or words of something. Om, the resonance, the vibration is what we have to be receptive to. So there is a specific way of chanting the Omkar with the vibrationary note. Darshana is a psychological awareness of the divine essence or person and not necessarily the act of seeing. When you look at somebody, I've come for my Guru's darshan, I've come for Swamiji's darshan, that is not darshan. What we are looking at is the physical form. When you talk about darshana, it is the psychological awareness of the divine essence within that person, within your Guru, within the divine. And then there is one last thing I want to say is that Guru, the word Guru itself is a tattva, is a being. That being can be anything in creation. It can be a person, male, female, a mountain, a stream, a rainbow. It can be anything which removes the confusion in the aspirant's mind. It is not a person who just communicates information contained in the scriptures. It has to open up your inner sense, your inner eye to what is the existence or the form that is there in life. Now, if we become infatuated by sensuous forms. Because many people come to Raas Leela or Raas Leela thinking it's going to be like a movie of romance or sensual satisfaction, then we lose the perspective of the essence. So they need to be, even when you look at these forms, you have to go through, even if you have a sensuous feeling, you have to go into that sensuous feeling to understand the essence of what has awakened it. So having this much, if we understand, we get the idea of what we are trying to talk about. Now, let us come to the story of the Raas Leela itself. The eternal or the divine eternal that we talk about is beyond time, beyond space. It is everywhere, and it is also within the within and beyond all space, and it is beyond time. It's always there. It's because it's always there that we call Krishna as the Navanita, the newly born. Every minute, every moment, this divinity is being born in the universes, not just our earth, the universes. So in the Vedas, there are certain names that have a meaning. When this pure consciousness, which was unmanifest in the beginning, everything was dark. It was called Ratri, but it was awake. This Ratri enters into manifestation. That is what we talked about, the cosmic flux, the beginning of which goes a little deeper than the cosmic flux. NASA is talking of the cosmic flux. We are talking of the higher energy waves. Where do they come from? Nobody knows. But the Rig Veda says, it is a pure consciousness, and when it enters into its own manifestation, it changes into what you can see, what is expressed, and it functionally pervades the universes. It has a purpose. This functional aspect of the cosmic presence is called Varuna or Vishnu. This is the omnipresence that we talk about God. That which is everywhere, that which is even before the space came in, even before time came in, it is called Vishnu or Varuna in the Rig Veda. Again, physically, from that transcendent state, which is still, which is very quiet, cosmic vibrations start coming. They become dynamic. This is the first stage. There is an infinite number of vibrations in a finite unit of time and zero wavelength. Much of this we don't understand because we don't go into that state. Only when you experience it, you can understand this. So these infinite vibrations enter into a space-time complex for the sake of manifesting itself. For example, I'm 75 years old. I was not here, you would say, 78 years ago. But the Rig Veda will say, no, you were here. You were just not seen. You were not seen like this. When you were created, you were a seed. In that seed, there was all the details about who you are going to become. In that, it says that at 75, this is who you will be. Just like a mango seed will tell itself that when I grow, sprout, and germinate and become a mango tree, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, I will have mango fruits and not apples. So a mango tree will produce only the mango apples. my creative substance will create only me. Somebody else's will create only that person. Grass on the ground has its own germinating seed. In that seed, there is the grass. So this seed is the first of what is seen. Before that, there were vibrations that were invisible. And they were quiet. They didn't move around. When they start becoming dynamic, you get infinite vibrations, because infinite universes are coming into manifestation. And for that time, it comes into a time-space complex. Now, when it enters, all these infinite vibrations, the cosmic rays, are recognized when the vibration is 0.05 angstroms. That is a physics unit. That only when it comes into a certain wavelength, it becomes visible. Till then, it is not visible. Then these radiations slow down and they are seen as electronic rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays. Then it enters the range of our spectrum. When it enters, the form happens. The subtlest color there is indigo or dark blue. And that is why Krishna is that divine force who is imagined as dark blue, the color of space, the sky. As you come lower down, the radiations have a different wavelength. And at the lowest edge of the spectrum of manifestation, the red color, it comes out as a red color, which is given to the, which is called as the Mother Earth, the cosmic mother of everything. And that is why you find that this Vishnu, who looks like blue, all his consorts are rosy pink, or they wear a pink or a red dress. So then these radiations become grosser and grosser, and then become what we can see and hear. Now, this is why Krishna says in the Gita, all beings, Arjuna, are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the middle, and unmanifest again. You don't say everything is invisible, but it is there. That invisibility becomes visible when you have a seed of visibility. It becomes a person, becomes a tree, whatever. It has a time limit, a warranty period. At the end of that, it decays, and what we call the death happens of the physical body, and that which is alive and has never been dead, the immortal aspect, passes back into its invisible state. So they say that when that energy comes down, certain specific dimensions, it stops and it stabilizes when it comes down. And these stabilized portions in a human being, specifically, I'm talking about human beings, it is there in everything. But these specific energy parts which come down and get transformed are what we call the chakras. And it is around the chakras that the human flesh and body is built. So all of you know by now that we have 7 chakras: Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipur, Anahat, Vishuddhi, Ajna, and Sahasrara. The 7th is Sahasrara. That is where the first, when it comes to Sahasrara, that energy, we get the first form in which the divine is in everything that he becomes. This is called the cosmic mother. This cosmic mother, who is Krishna himself, or called as Yogamaya, that is his own inner potency, power, his Shakti, is immanent in everything. She exists in everything that is in creation. At the same time, she is also transcendent as Krishna. So Krishna is can be if you want to call it a male or you can call it a female, it is energy basically. That is why you find when in the Bhagavatam and Krishna, when they try to kill the seventh child, it flies out of Kamsa's hands. It cannot be killed. Then the grosser experiences happen, and they are called when a number of children are born of this of Krishna's parents before Krishna appears in a form. Then they are called as Krishna's brothers. So from the unseen, unknown, super spectra sources, that is called Varuna and Krishna or Vishnu, beyond which is the infraspectral, which is called Ratri. You have heard of the Ratri Suktam in the Chandi part. If you have read, this is what they are talking about. And then what you can see at the lower level, the divine principles which hold Ratri and Varuna, Krishna, above themselves. These are Surya, Savita, Mitra, Indra, and such demigods. Now, from the unseen, unknown sources, the unseen, unknown, unseen, remember, these are supraspectral sources like Varuna and Krishna. That Krishna is also the mother called Ratri. If you have read the Saundarya Lahari, you will see that there is a verse that says Parikshina Madhye. That one. The invisible presence from which all creation happens. So the Rig Veda says, out of this unseen glory, Savitra, emerges, and that unseen glory, it comes from the unseen glory, that is Ratri or Krishna. When it is visible, you call it the blue glory. Now, the Saptaha, the seventh child, Saptaha means to worship, to adore, to unite. It means this Saptaha is in contact with what we call Krishna, the adored, the worshipped. It also means the speeding glory of the divine. Sapti is the name of Surya's rays or horses. Krishna is seen in the moment and at the point of entry into the what is being created as energy, and is called the Saptama Putra of this infinite transcendence. The Sahasra, or the seventh chakra, is the final resting place of the immanent Brahman, that which is in creation, and it is called Goloka or Bhaloka. So, Krishna is the Lord of the most ancient and the most supreme Loka in our creation. Ashtan, or the eighth, means to pervade, to master, to rule, to occupy, to enjoy, to experience. These are all phases of Vishnu's omnipresence in the world here and now. In the Chandogya Upanishad, we say the Pranava. Pranava means ever new and eternal. The expanding universes that we see is the harmonious essence of all creatures in creation. So when we are talking about it, then we say whatever happens then and there is called Navanitam. Vishnu's special manifestation is called as Pranava, come to earth, or the Omkar. The first in the beginning was the word, Christianity says. The first sound vibration is pranava. It is also called go in the Vedic language. The word go, gopi, gopa, Krishna all refer to the cosmic glory of the eighth manifestation, which is the Omkar. That sound is called pranava, which is ever moving, continuously creating. It is not that Krishna came many years ago, he was born in this form. That's all it means. But the rest of creation is Krishna in different forms. And that sound vibration is called pranava, which is ever new, entering creation every moment as navanitam, new, newness and movement that we call ghee. Its symbol is what you call sarpihi. Sarpihi means melted butter. Sarpihi means that which moved. Arjyam, the melted one that we use for the homa. That means that which flowed out. Arjyam. Ghritam. Ghritam means that which pleases and which shines. That which pleases and which shines. That is, this is the solidified arjyam becomes ghritam. And in the spiritual evolution of the individual to this experience, we have to go backwards to our source, and that is why we turn inwards, away from the external distractions. And here, when you turn inwards, you awaken the mother or kundalini, and you experience the different chakras, which have certain granthis. Granthi means a knot. The knot is that which prevents you from moving higher unless you have handled the lower level of consciousness comfortably and completely. Because you will see that people who have tried to understand this and who have had Vishwarupa Darshana, that is seeing this essence, if they are not prepared, it can be scary. It can disturb your consciousness because you're looking at your whole consciousness, that whole creation is you. But you're looking at it from a small point that you say is I. So when that small I is removed, then you're able to witness the large I, which is divinity. So we'll go on to the Raas Leela itself. So in the Raas Leela, we are told that to understand this, you have to offer everything to the Lord in everything, everywhere, and from everywhere. Then He nourishes you. So the Rasa Leela itself is the 10th skanda, or the 10th group of chapters in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the heart of the entire Bhagavatam. In this, the Dashama Skandam is the heart. And the Tattvam here is that his prana, that divine prana, is Rasa Leela, to understand that prana. So each adhyaya means each chapter stands for a prana. And you have 5 pranas: prana Apana, Samana, Udana, Vyana. These are the 5 adhyayas or chapters that are called the Panchadhyayi. Now, who repeated the Bhagavatam was Vyasa, and Vyasa's son was Shuka. Vyasa composed it, and Shuka was the one who spoke about it for the benefit of Parikshit. Now, when you say Shuka, he is an extraordinarily alive sage who was born with the Brahmajnana. He is not visible, but he exists. So, we do one namaskaram to Shuka Brahman to help us, guide us in this Srimad Bhagavatam so that we can understand to little extent what it really means. So, they will tell you that there are 2 ways of looking at the divinity. One is looking outside, the Prakriti Marg, and the other one is looking inside, that is called the Nivritti Marg. Now, if you go deep into the Nivritti Marg, you'll be able to go deeper and deeper into your own consciousness. The fruit of it, when you get it, is called Raas Leela. Shuka, there is a story about the Kanchi Mat Periyava. You know, you must have heard of the Kanchi Shankaracharya, who is no more now in a manifest stage. But these people of higher energies are alive. As all energies, Atmas are alive. And even now, wherever you are sitting, there are many unseen beings that you don't see, but are still alive. So these 5 discourses are called the Rasa Panchadhyayi. And they start from the 29th chapter to the 30th. So there is a story, the story of Periyava, who was a Shankaracharya, before the present one, his guru. And he was a person who was always in the Brahmachintana. And it is said that many miracles happen in his presence. So at one time, the story goes, this is in our own lifetime. He died a few years ago. He left the material body. A man wanted to read Raas Leela to the Periyava. I will refer to him as Periyava. And generally, the sannyasins read the Raas Leela at midnight. Now, when this man came to read the Raas Leela to this Periyava, there are many portions that are seen as sensuous in nature unless you understand the inner meaning. So while reading, he left out certain portions which he thought is not appropriate to be said to a sannyasi at that level. You know, there will be sensual scenes about Krishna, the gopi saying, please touch us on our breast, touch us on my lips. All that you have to understand it in the way that it is meant to be and not as a sensuous scripture. So when this man left out certain portions, at the end of that, the Periyava asked the man, it doesn't seem to me to be complete. Something missing, he said. So the man said to the Periyava, he said, there were these scenes that were written about, and I felt bad to read it in front of you because after all, you're a sannyasi. And how can I say these things to you? And the Periyava said to that man that you haven't understood the meaning of the 10th chapter, these 5 discourses, because the sannyasis are asked to read this Raas Leela at midnight. Why at midnight? Because at 11ish in the night, the Kama Vasana starts. Kama means the desires. And also the Asura Vasanas or the negative vibrations, the more grosser vibrations are in full effect. Now, that which means that how does it help a sannyasin to lead it when his desire is starting to come up and it is not yet refined? That desire he has not yet understood. So the reason is that you have to experience something to understand what it is. So he will say very clearly, Periyava will quote from the Raas Leela, and I'll quote it again and again in between, that this Raas Leela is to be contemplated upon, to be meditated upon when you have the Kama Vasana, which is in the middle of the night, and not to be acted upon. Very, very clear in this. They are talking about very subtle things. Don't look at it on as face value and act it out in your life, because you see a lot of that happening also. People say this is Tantra. Tantra has nothing to do with sex. Being very clear about it. So let us, before we go to the Raas Leela itself, which starts on the 29th chapter, you have 29 to 33rd. The beginning of the Rasa Krida, which deals with illusions, is on the 29th. The 30th is the gopis searching for Krishna. 31st is the Gopika Geetam. 32nd is when he gives peace to the gopis, the Gopiya Shantva. And 33 is the Rasa Krida. Now, you will find that somewhere in between there is a 28th chapter that has been inserted there, 27, between 27 and 29. And we would gloss over it if we don't look at it and realize that it's a very important discourse. Now, why is that discourse put in there between 27 and 29 as 28? Only if you know this, you are entitled to go into the Raas Leela. That 28th verse talks about the defeat of Varuna. If you remember, I told you Varuna and Krishna are the highest vibrations they're talking about in manifestation, but they are also unmanifest forces. And so these, it's supposed to be the 28th is supposed to be very auspicious, Shreshtam, they call it, because the Vrajavasis were innocent. The gopis and the gopas, they had no yoga practices. They never did Surya Namaskar. They were illiterate. They didn't go to school and learn the scriptures, but they were very, very pure. And it is because of that purity that Krishna spent 11 years, 45 days in Vrindavan. They never asked him to come. He chose that place and went. That's how it happened. Why would Krishna choose that place to spend the 11 years, 45 days of his life there? What is special with the Vrajavasis for the divine to go there? So they say that the first thing is, whatever they did it with full niyama. They followed the rules of the Shastra, the Vedas, and they did it with complete adherence to the Vedas and not in any lackadaisical manner. Their entire day's schedule was Bhagavat Seva, that is service to Bhagavan, the highest. The whole day and the whole night, they would keep Jagaran, that is, they would keep awake, repeating the names of the divine. So all the time, they were only thinking of the divine. If anything happened, even in ordinary terms, it was the divine. They never thought of it in highly philosophical terms at all. So here you have, and these people with all their karmendriyas, with all their jnanendriyas, most of you know what the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas are. The karmendriyas are the organs of interaction, like the hands, feet, eyes, nose, mouth in speech, and the generative organs and the excretory organs. The Jnanendriyas, these are five. The Jnanendriyas are five also. And the Jnanendriyas, again, the eyes, nose, smell, touch, taste, that which gives all these experiences. So the Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas make what 10. And all these are ruled by the mind, and that is the 11th. So what do these people do? 10 Indriyas plus 1 Manas is 11. 11 is Ekadashi. These people um, observed the Ekadashi penance not on the 11th day of the moon only. They observed every day as Ekadashi. Why? Because they restrained their Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas. With consciousness, they took care of their Karmendriyas. Their hands didn't go just anywhere they wanted to do something. You don't just go and slap a person. Their feet did not run in any direction they wanted. Everything was very, very coordinated towards the highest divinity through pure consciousness. And then the Jnanendriyas through Guru Bhakti were purified to the extent that Bhagavan thinks to himself, Bhagavan meaning Krishna here, these people are celebrating or following Ekadashi with the entire body and mind. It is not just a word. It is not just staying away from food. The food itself is Annam, is Krishna for them. He is our nutrition. He is our essence. He keeps us alive. It is with that they do the fast, and with everything else like that. When you have a bath, it is He who's pouring over me, watching my body. Who says this body? This body belongs to Him. So like this, he thinks that because of the entire body and mind, it is so completely in harmony and completely ekagrata, turning towards the highest, that they reach the feet of the Supreme. Many years later, this Krishna, who comes with that energy as the avatara of Bhagavan, tells his consort Rukmini, he said, I run behind my devotees so that the dust of their feet will purify me. So you see, this is the place that Bhagavan gives to his true devotees. He runs behind the feet of the devotees because their dust will purify him. And this is why Krishna, now don't think of purifying an impurity in our ordinary terms of this is dirty, this is clean. No. That which is completely aligned with the divinity is purity. That which is contaminated with various other conditions and other thoughts and feelings which are not aligned with the divine is called impurity. So the bhaktas are completely true devotees. And if you have seen Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's words, he often says the bhakta, the Bhagavan and the Bhagavata are the same. So many of you are part of the Bhagavata series. Any more of you who want to join can also join. If you send a message to Shivani, we are having a Bhagavatam class continuously every day from 4 o'clock to 6:37. The entire Bhagavatam is being read and understood. This 10th Dasamaskanda comes in the Purvangam part of the Dashamaskanda, the Raas Leela comes, the first part, there is a Purvangam and an Uttarangam part. And this comes, and we are presently in the Dashamaskanda or the Rasa Krida in more detail, but I cannot go into that detail because of paucity of time. So those who want to know more can join, ask Shivani. But in between, I will give you a brief outline of what it is going to be about. And so when we are talking of this 28th skanda that is suddenly put between 27 and 29, this is the story of Nanda. Nanda Gopal. Gopa is Krishna's foster father. Now, Krishna's foster father was not an ordinary person. He was the father of Krishna, and Krishna was the truth, existence, which existed before, which exists now, and which will always exist. This Nanda was the father of truth. So one day what happened was, they who were so meticulous in observing these rituals exactly according to the Vedic injunctions, because the Vedic injunctions were teamed with what we call vibrations, cosmic vibrations, that in quantum physics today, when people are talking of cosmic vibrations, cosmic flux, they are talking about certain vibrations, and the Vedas are about aligning yourself with these cosmic vibrations for every single act that you do. Bathe at a certain time, eat at a certain time, so your vibrations are in alignment with the whole of the cosmos. And so it will keep you healthy and nourished at every level. Your body, your mind will be without stress, your Atma will be seen by you and work for you. So they say that when Varuna, who was so meticulous, went to have a bath, he was a few minutes before the Brahma Muhurta. So when he didn't realize that. He went in and he had a bath and he came out. The story goes. And an aide or a servant of Varuna comes and ties him up and takes him away. Why does that happen? Because Varuna is the omnipresence. In later Puranas, just like Vishnu, the same name, Vishnu is Varuna, in his aspect of being everywhere. And he is called the deity, later came to be understood by the gross mind as the deity of the waters of consciousness. So wherever there are large areas of waters, to make people understand the highest, they would call it the Varuna Bhagavan. So what happened to Nanda here? He went into the water, he stepped in, he had a bath, and he came out a few minutes before. This few minutes before, that is 11:30 to 3:30, before the advent of Brahma Muhurtam, is a period in which there is a great deal of kama vasana, desire, and a great deal of asura gunas, that is the gross elements of discordance, are there at that time. And that is why when people who are only sensuously aroused will find that time for sexual activities, for stealing, for anything that can be disharmonious. As against, when I'm talking of two things, I'm talking A, of conditioned love, of which sensuousness is part, and of unconditional love, which has more vibrations during Brahma Muhurta, because these are the vibrations of the divine. And the divine does not give us any conditions. So here is Nanda, he goes in, has a bath, and then he is carried away by an Asura servant of Varuna and taken down into the waters, down the river to meet Varuna, who is the Lord of the waters. So, when Varuna saw him, he wondered from where this man came. He said, why did the aide bring this man down at all? In the meantime, what happened was in Gokula, Vrindavan, the people there missed Nanda because they were getting up at their regular time and they couldn't find Nanda anywhere. They started crying out in fear. What happened to him? Has somebody taken him away? Has he got lost? Is he alive? And when they said that, when they kept crying, the sound went to Krishna, who was still a young child, and it was his father. So he understood from his transcendental nature what happened. He went and plunged into the waters and came to the presence of Varuna. Now, when Varuna saw Krishna, who was the Brahman, that is the highest form of the divinity, he got afraid. This is a story. And in the story, please see the inner meanings. Varuna starts shivering. Because, when your boss comes into your chamber or you're called into the presence, when you're called into the presence of the principal or the headmaster itself, you get scared. And the headmaster or the principal comes to where you are, it's one step worse. You say, oh my God, the principal has come home. Now, why has he come home? Swamiji has come home. Have I made any mistake? He didn't tell me he's coming. So they say Varuna started shivering and sweating. Now, when Varuna started sweating and shivering, he said to himself, let me surrender to the divine, because he suddenly realized at that point that what he was doing earlier with full omniscience, even then, he had this feeling of, I am doing this. When Varuna sweats, the world is filled with water. Rain falls, the lakes become filled with water. And very often he had thought, I'm Varuna and I'm getting water to the world. I'm the god of the waters. And seeing Krishna suddenly at that point, he realized that I am not doing the thing. The entire creation is forms and is being formed by Krishna. So now that Nanda got into the waters, and Nanda is so meticulous, there must be some reason for the Lord to have made this happen, because it is by his will that Nanda has come a little early. By his will that my aide has caught hold of Nanda and brought him here. And by his aid or by his thought that Krishna himself comes to see me. And so there must be some reason for which Krishna has come. So they say that each deity we have a deity that is responsible for our whole body. And that deity is in different forms, uh, in charge of different parts of our body. Like the arms belong to Krishna, the smaller level of Krishna. Then the tongue, the tip of the tongue where you have a lot of salivation and all that, is in charge of Varuna. Now you have to understand this. Varuna is the deity in charge of the tongue. I'm sorry for this coughing because it's a dust. Varuna is in charge of the tongue, and his aid, the Rakshasa, because the divine has negative and positive qualities in manifestation. That is why it's called duality. His aid is called the Shad Rasam. That is the 6 types of taste: sweet, sour, bitter, like that. So now they say, why was this particular chapter inserted? You have to understand that without controlling the tongue, you cannot go into the Raas Leela. So what is the tongue? The tongue is it is a Jnanendriya and a Karmendriya. If you have no control of the tongue, then you will eat anything you want at any time you want, which may be healthy for your body, not healthy for your body. And when you eat something, you will be taking in the vibrations of that particular food, where it was cultivated, the person who has cultivated, the person who sells it to the market, the retailer from whom you buy it, who brings it to your home. All these vibrations will be there. Just like when a house is constructed, all the feelings and of the people, the masons, the bricklayers, the people who make the bricks, the cementing people, the painting people, the person who manufactures the paint, all these vibrations will be there when you construct a house. And this is why people do a griha pravesham, which means doing certain, bringing in, invoking certain other vibrations, which will remove these any negative vibrations that could be there. And the same thing with food also. So if you cannot control taste, then with taste will come many other thoughts, many other events that will whip up your negative emotions, the Rakshasa emotions within you, and you find the inside is filled with pollution. So a polluted person cannot enter into the Raas Leela. Now, the tongue also is responsible for speech. So if you don't, if you feel angry with somebody and you want to say something rude or nasty or hurting, because remember, ahimsa paramo dharma. Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anybody else. Now, hurting does not necessarily mean yelling at somebody. Your intent is what matters. If you tell a lie about someone, if you use it to further your own ends by manufacturing, manipulating, maneuvering, gossiping about somebody or something without knowing the whole truth of the context of a situation, you are becoming defeated by the forces, the asuric forces of the deity in charge of the tongue. So here Nanda as a jiva goes into the chitta, that is your memory traces in the mind, which is the river. He goes into the chitta, he is pure and he gets up pure, but because he transgressed that time limit, the shad rasam enters, the 6 tastes enter. It becomes impure for the tongue. Varuna comes. Varuna is the god of the tongue. So as long as you are slave to material pleasures, you cannot get prema rasam or bhakti. Prema rasam means the essence of love, true love, not the love that we see in movies or in books, or even that we profess to each other when we like somebody, and then that love goes off the minute something disharmonious happens. All that is not love. That is attachment. We are talking about unconditional love. You bathe in the chitta, in a pure chitta, where your memories of faultless. It's like a child's mind, innocent, accepting, loyal, completely trusting. If the father tells a child on the first floor, jump to the ground, he will do it because the child will think that the father is going to protect him. Such is a trust. So, and that is why Jesus says, unless you are like a child, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So, when Varuna comes in, the story is like this, and he enters the river and he gets up, and he comes before the time, so he picks up some of the vibrations of the Asura Guna, and he cannot go immediately into the transcendental state. And when you become a bhakta, then the the happiness you face, the ananda that they call it. Nanda means happiness. Ananda is a great happiness that you face. Comes with ekagrata and ekantam. 2 things. Ekagrata is the one-pointedness towards that which is the most beautiful. The most beautiful is the divine, what we call divine is the existence that is always present. When something is always with you, you're not worried, you're not insecure. This is the all-protecting factor, the factor that loves you completely without expecting anything out of you, gives you whatever you want. This divinity is when you turn your mind towards that, it's ekagrata. And what is ekantam? Ekantam is the being alone. So what does the being alone means? It is not just being alone as a concept. Say, for example, that you go off and sit in a forest without anybody else, because there too you're not alone. There are the trees, the plants, the birds, everything is there. But when, for example, imagine you have your lower portion, the genital portions. A child can run around naked because it doesn't even have an idea of the social ideas that are associated with it. But if I were to tell any of you, or if somebody were to tell me, take off your clothes and go around, I would feel a little embarrassed to do that in public. It needs great courage to be naked. But if you see, you had people like Sadashiva Brahmendra, Mahavira, even our own Swami Satyananda, who walked around for social purposes with just one cowpeen or langot after he went to Rikyapit. But he could go, that is called Digambara state, without any clothes, because you're clad in space. Why? Because by that time, your body and your mind doesn't mean anything to you. It is only a vehicle for your Atma to ride in. And a person who is so completely with his Atma, or the undying portion of himself, who knows that he is taking this dying, decaying part of the body for the sake of traveling, he doesn't give much importance to it. So whether you are nude or not nude does not give you any, it means nothing. And that comes when you have reached the level of the Agnya Chakra. That is when it is called the Guru Chakra also, because that is where the Guru is in a Digambaram state. This Guru is called the Dattatreya, and it is also called Dakshinamurti at the Agnya Chakra. So if you go to Chidambaram or any of the great Shiva places, you will see that Dakshinamurti is called the Guru Tattva. Okay, so if you can bring it means it is not only with your body, it's your mind also. Can you be open and say, this is what I feel, this is what I think, without feeling threatened and without trying to hurt somebody else? If you can be like that with your Guru, if you can be like that with the Guru Tattvam, if you can feel that this person is going to protect me and this person is giving me love which is unconditional, then you are a Digambara. Okay, so the other thing is Bhakti Rasa Sadhana is a very important aspect to defeat the tongue. You have, what is Bhakti? It's not easy. It is not a sentimental or an emotional saying of, I love my Guru, I will do everything the Guru says. That's not Bhakti. Bhakti is to do seva to him who attracts you in different ways. And who attracts you? The Guru is the form that the Lord takes. Hari takes. Hari means that which attracts you irresistibly, and you cannot help it. You are attracted because that is a fraction of Hari is your Atma also. And that is why Atma is attracted to the Paramatma. The body is not attracted to the Paramatma. So you have to do seva to Bhagavan. We have to see the body as it is and see the attractions of the body in its own context, and to do seva to Bhagavan by getting vairagya for the body. So you relate to Bhagavan or you relate to your Guru through your soul and not your body or your mind, and that is Bhakti. The other thing that nobody talks about is the concept of time. Kala or time comes along with the body. It is not there for the soul because the soul has transcended the aspect of time. It is timeless and eternal, like Hari. So that is why we say Hari Om Tat Sat. Sat, the truth, that existence, is that. Tat. And what is it? It is Om. The first vibration is the first manifestation of the divinity, who is Hari. So when you say Hari Om Tat Sat to somebody else, you are saying this, that I am bowing before the divine within you. And the other person says back, Hari Om Tat Sat, I too am bowing before you, before the divine in you, because when you accept that Krishna or your divine, when you say we are talking of the Bhagavatam, so the word is Krishna. If you go into a Sufi life, it is called the eternal beloved. And if you go into the Christian world, you can call him Jesus. It doesn't matter what name you call him. There is only one supreme divinity. And in this context, he is called Hari or Krishna. And so we'll be talking about Krishna and his pastimes, which happens for every person in every mystical tradition and what people have experienced. Now, what? How do you talk to your Atma? There was a saint called Kulashekara Alvar, and he says in a stotra called the Mukundamana Stotra, he says, Jitve Otam Kirtaya Keshavam. Talk about Keshava. Sing about Keshava. Hasta Namaskara Sridhara. Oh, hands, do Namaskaram to Sridhara. Sridhara is another word for the divine, who sustains Sri, or the world of manifestation. Hare he gacha padav. That is, go towards the divine, go feet. Don't go here and there into any sewage. Jigne onos grana pada tulasi. The tulasi that is at the feet of Krishna, smell that. In other words, let each indriya get absorbed in the divinity. That's what they are talking about. Divinity in whatever way you see it. So this is helped by having satsang with sattvic people and having the company of sattvic people who will talk to you about positive things, positive in any situation, even in a difficult situation, and will always give you confidence in God coming down to protect you, loving you unconditionally. And the person who's sattvic is a person who has the mode or the guna of sattva to a large extent. When a person goes into rajasic or tamasic modes, then that person is going into a world of passion or a world of excitement, sensuous excitement, and tamas, ignorance. When you go into this, you do not understand the love of the Lord. So what is this love of the Lord called? It's called his Ahlada Shakti. Ahlada means the delight, the bliss of existence. This is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is the existence. Chit is the consciousness in it. It is not just an object. Ananda is what you call the tremendous bliss that comes. So when you say Krishna, and then you have Radha, Radha is the name of the Ahlada Shakti of Krishna. When you meet with, when your soul unites with the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, you move into a state of bliss. And that state of bliss is called as Radha or Krishna's Ahlada Shakti. Okay. Now, let's come to the Gopika aspects itself. You have when the Brahma Chintana starts, that when you start realizing that I have so many things that I ever wanted in life, but still I'm not satisfied, I'm not fully happy, I don't feel complete, there is no closure somewhere. And having experience and being saturated with the material benefits of life, only then you will look for something higher than that. So at that time, they say, you have to make yourself pure, because here are, when your body is pure, your mind, with your impurity increasing, your mind will give you all the siddhis. What are the siddhis? Anima, Lagima, Garima, Mahima, all that, that is the capacity to become small, the capacity to become large, heavy, light, the capacity to go anywhere you want, to be able to get whatever you want. All these things, to be charismatic, people will come and fall at your feet. All these things, these powers that you get at the psychic level are distractions. They are what will pollute you if you get attached to them. Patanjali also says, to that extent, you will get sidetracked and you will have a delay in reaching the Raas Leela. So you have to purify it. And then why are these vasanas, the memories of these things, anger, hostility? It's not easy to get beyond it. Why? Because sometimes, like we would say that I got very angry. I don't know why I got angry, but it happened. Why? Because it is there in your chitta. The chitta is not yet pure. And why is it there? Sure. When the chitta is not pure, that is, the conditioning has not been removed from it with the trust in the divinity, what happens is the old vasanas, which were part of the survival itself, the survival of the body and mind of the species, those were necessity. Those were necessary. Hatred and anger were part of keeping yourself um, alive, the survival of the species. Now, later, as it went on, there were people who were able to realize and they were able to get beyond anger and hostility, hatred. But most of us have not reached that point because we say, I believe in God, I believe in God. But when something bad happens, we think, why did God do this to me? Or we would say, let him, tell him not to scream, Sundar. I'm sorry, a lot of activity going on. So, when the mind has not got rid of everything that it has used along the way, along the survival of the species, that process, it is still contaminated. And that is why when your faith becomes more and more and your trust, unless you go through a process of difficulty and come out of it, you don't know what you are saying. And that is why distress or difficulties in life are called divine. There are saints who have prayed to God, give me more and more difficulties so that I will remember you in the long run, because we go to God only when we have difficulties. When we are fine, everything going right, we don't bother, we don't even think about it. So now we have two types of gopikas, and these are the gopikas who have gone beyond anger and hostility. Until we go, there is no point worshipping, because worship is contaminated with the old vasanas. So when you have complete consciousness, the karmendriyas go in the right way, because your consciousness is what is the salary. This is what somebody who's teaching the Bhagavatam says it's a salary you pay to tell them, now keep quiet and don't go running here and there. Complete consciousness. Then with the Guru Bhakti, your Jnanendriyas behave. That is a salary for the Jnanendriyas, because your Guru Bhakti gives you the confidence that he will take care of me. So that faith is a very, very important thing, and that will come only when you have suffered and you have been protected and you say, he did come to me when I needed. Look back and in your past and you'll see that you have not broken down many times when you went through many stresses, and you say, I have become strong. The fact is that he has awakened within you and strengthened you. Now, when you know that and you have the Guru Bhakti, because this is the person who opens your mind to that aspect of yourself, then, which is kept alive with the company of sadhus and sattvic people, the mind identifies with sattva. You identify with the Atma and not the body and mind, because you say there was something that protected me, some power that was with me. And what is that power you're looking? It's not my body, it's not my mind. Na iti, neti, neti. Some power, that is the power of the divine in your soul. So this is why then only you are ready for worship. So you'll find in the Bible, Jesus says, I'll teach you to pray. Does somebody need to be taught to pray? You do need to be taught to pray, because we are not praying until the chitta is pure. We are only giving God an agenda of our needs and desires and saying, please get this for me, get that for me. See that I get a visa to New York. See that my son gets a good girl to get married to. So all that is more of an agenda that we are giving to the divine. And when you reach a point when you say, your will, not mine, because you know, not because you're sort of like helpless, but also because you know at your most helpless state, he has stood by you in the past and he will continue standing by you and pulling you out of it. Okay.
So, please forgive me for the interruption, Swamiji. We are at 8 o'clock.
Huh? Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Okay. So just 2 minutes more for this. I just want to tell you that there are two types of gopikas. Tomorrow we will go deep into that itself. I think we spent a few minutes setting the stage right. Just remember this, that there are two types of gopikas. One is Nitya Siddhas. They are always having this attitude. Like these are people like the Sanaka, Sanandana and those brothers and Narada. Then you have sadhana siddhas, people who have done sadhana and then become achieved the siddhi of being gopikas. We will go into that a little more in detail tomorrow, and we will start with understanding what the Raas Leela itself is all about. So we will do the first chapter tomorrow, first and maybe the second chapter. So until then, please remember what I told you. Let us all have Shraddha in our hearts, knowing the presence of God within, or knowing the presence of the Guru, which is the same as God within, knowing that we have an Atma inside. Just take a deep breath in, and as you're breathing in, chant the Omkar. Now don't do it mechanically and loudly. As I chant Omkar loudly, you breathe in and chant Om silently, breathe out and chant Om silently. And as you are doing it, bring your attention to the lower part of your sternum. Keep your hand there and breathe in and breathe out with full concentration and knowing that the divine is sitting in that place. So that is a place of your Atma. So breathe in, breathe out. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.